Most parents do not understand this. If you have kids, I'm going to share with you two stories that might help you change your perspective when it comes to being a parent. The other day, after letting my son have a rather lengthy video game session, I told my son it was time to turn off the vids and do something different, like play a board game together or something. This response was obviously not the one my son wanted to hear, and it led to a complete mental, emotional breakdown. As my son was crying out loud, I tapped into his energy, and what I realized was that this crying and meltdown, which was extremely rare for my son, had absolutely nothing to do with the situation of turning off the Nintendo. He was actually releasing excess stress that was pent up from certain individuals in his class at school that were giving him a hard time. And this answer that he didn't want to hear regarding no more video games was just a trigger or an outlet for him to express and release all those pent up emotions. Now, an individual could look at this situation and just think that a child is overreacting to something that, kind of seems silly to us as parents. And then you see them as misbehaving, and then their crying triggers your unhealed childhood trauma where you haven't released all your pain and stuff from the shit you went through, and then that triggers you up, and then you get all wound up, and then you want to start yelling at your kid. When I saw the real reason as to why he was crying in the first place, I said, son, take as much time as you need, vent it out, get it all out, because I was able to see the core reason behind his meltdown. So the next time your child has a meltdown or starts crying over something that seems rather silly to you, try to remember that kids are still learning about how to deal with their emotions. So instead of flying off the handle, try to understand and realize that sometimes there's more to the story than meets the eye. Now, the next story involves the two kids in my son's class that were giving him a headache and played a major role in the meltdown that he had in the last story that I just shared with you. Have you ever had to deal with your child being bullied at school or anywhere in general? Was your first instinct anger or rage towards the bully of your child? After listening to my son talk about these two individuals in his class that were giving him problems for quite some time, after having no success, even after my ex-wife messaged the teacher and talked to the principal about this situation, I decided to pick up my kid from school today. And when I saw those two individuals from his class that were giving him a hard time, I was going to have my own talk with them. I may have had to do some breath work and chant a couple ohms before I went and talked to them. But as they walked out of my son's class, I approached them. I let them know that it would be in their best interest if they kept my son's name out of their mouth. But what really surprised me was the feeling that I was left with afterwards. I left there actually feeling sorry for them because when I tapped into their energy, I could tell that their parents at home were nothing short of assholes and treated them like shit. And all of a sudden it made sense as to why they were acting the way that they were acting. So if you ever find yourself in a situation like that, try to see things from a higher perspective. Kids act out because they don't understand how to release their emotions, and it's usually stemming from something that they went through.